Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. For those utilizing ASL interpretation services, our interpreters today are Lisa Dennett and Beth Surf. Their names are displayed on the screen as ASL interpreter SignNexus Lisa and ASL interpreter SignNexus Beth. For instructions on how to pin their videos or access to cart services can be found in the chat.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Esmeralda Simmons. I use she, her pronouns. I joined the board in 2020 as appointee of the public advocate, Jamani Williams. I am the third most senior CCRB member, board member. That's pretty sad. But now I'm not. Now I'm the fourth most senior. And I will be leading today's meeting since we do not as yet have a chair. Thank you for joining us. I mean that. Thank you for coming. And for those of you that are online, thank you for coming. I would like to call the CCRB meeting, November Public Board meeting to order. Today is Transgender Day of Awareness. And in this spirit, I'd like to begin this meeting by taking a moment to remember all those who have lost their lives to anti-trans violence this past year. Thank you. Before I pass it to our board members to introduce themselves, I would like to first welcome Dr. Mohammed Khalid back to the Civilian Complaint Review Board. Dr. Khalid previously served on this board from 2005 to 2014 as a seasoned veteran. I'm sure he will prove to be a great asset to us again, bringing wisdom and integrity to each case he reviews. Will the board members please introduce themselves, starting with you, Dr. Khalid?
It is a great pleasure, and I'm very excited to be appointed again at the CCRB by the Speaker of the City Council and the delegates from the Staten Island, the City Council delegates. And it's a tremendous honor for me. I have served already close to 10 years, and I'm very excited that I've met first time some of them. Mr. Puma is the one with me many years ago. But I'm looking forward to working with all the board members, my colleagues, all the staff, and reading all the cases that we need to read and make sure that everything is done properly. And I look forward to working to the best of my ability, reading all the cases in a very fair way so I can make a better decision with my colleagues. Thank you very much for welcoming me back.
You're truly welcome. And we'll start now with Joe.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Puma. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm the City Council designee from Manhattan. And welcome back, Dr. Khalid. I look forward to working with you on this board going forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Frank Dwyer. I'm a police commissioner designee.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say that I'm a City Council designee from Staten Island. I forgot to say that.
Wait a minute.
Joe Fox, Police Commissioner Designee. Welcome, Dr. Khalid.
Thank you, sir.
Jonathan Darsh, he, him pronouns, Executive Director.
June Northern, Mayor appointee from Brooklyn. I was going to say he, him pronouns.
Herman Merritt, City Council Designee from Brooklyn.
Good afternoon, Charlene Brown, Police Commissioner Designate. And again, welcome back to the board, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Pat Smith, Mayor's Designee. Dr. Khalid, welcome and good luck.
Eddie Hogan, City Council Designee from Queens.
Thank you. Thank you, members. We'll now turn to ministerial task, adoption of minutes. In regard to the September minutes, board member public board meeting minutes. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We'll now turn to the October minutes. Any changes or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor indicated by saying aye.
Aye.
All those approving say nay. Opposed, right. All those opposed say nay. The minutes are approved. We'll now turn to the executive director, Jonathan Dash, who will give us a report on the agency.
Good afternoon, everyone. As of this month, the CCRB's Racial Profiling and Bias-Based Policing Unit has been investigating cases for 2 years. The Racial Profiling and Bias-Based Policing Unit investigates complaints of profiling bias policing by uniformed members of the NYPD based on 10 protected categories, including race, religion, gender identity, and sexual orientation. As of October 23rd, 2024, the CCRB received 636 complaints of profiling and bias-based policing, and we have closed 362 of those complaints. Of these, 28 resulted in at least one substantiated allegation of profiling or bias-based policing. In December, the Administrative Prosecution Unit expects to begin its first trial of a member of service that includes a profiling specification. In 2021, the agency testified at a public safety hearing indicating that we would need 50 staff members to adequately investigate complaints related to racial profiling and bias policing. The city council and the former mayor budgeted funding for an additional 33 people in the racial profiling unit. But today, the racial profiling unit only has 17 staff members, including 2 data analysts. Due to budget constraints, the CCRB implemented a strategic resource allocation directive. This program was designed to enable the CCRB to concentrate its resources to effectively investigate the complaints that we are able to. There are certain allegations that we just cannot investigate at this time. Since implementing this policy on January 1st, 2024, the CCRB has closed 1,516 complaints without investigation. Of these, at least 194 would have been investigated by the Racial Profiling Unit. We hope to resume investigating these cases as soon as possible. In the meantime, our investigator training unit is working diligently to bring our new class of investigators up to speed. We will have further updates on this matter soon. In other news, our Data and Policy Unit published the Administrative Prosecution Unit's third quarter report, which is available on our website. Lastly, on a personal note, I'd like to welcome Dr. Khalid back to the board. We're grateful for your resumed service, and I'm confident you will bring the same level of care and dedication to the work as you did during your first tenure. Thank you. Our office is open for walk-in complaints, but it is also possible to file complaints online at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint, by telephone at 1-800-341-2272, by dialing 311, or by tagging the agency on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For those wishing to speak during the public comment section of today's meeting, we ask that you keep your questions and comments to 4 minutes. If anyone wishes to file a complaint right now, we have 2 investigators on hand ready to take any new complaints. The investigators on call this afternoon are Emma Stidehar and Rob Bryan, and Amy O'Sullivan is also here from the Civilian Assistance Unit.
Are there any questions to the executive director from the board? Okay, please continue. We'll now hear from the Deputy Director of Outreach and Intergovernmental Affairs, Maruwa Raji.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marwa Rigi. I'm the Deputy Director of Outreach and Intergovernmental Affairs at the CCRB. And the Civilian Complaint Review Board is the nation's largest independent oversight entity of the largest police force in the country. The CCRB investigates, mediates, and prosecutes allegations of misconduct against members of the NYPD. The agency is governed by a 15-member board, which with 5 seats appointed by the mayor, 5 appointed by the New York City Council, 3 designated by the police commissioner, 1 appointed by the public advocate, and the chair is appointed jointly by the mayor and city council. The CCRB investigates abuses of force, authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. How to report police misconduct. You can file a complaint online by visiting nyc.gov/CCRB complaint, or you can call the CCRB at 1-800-341-CCRB. Remember, if you see footage of misconduct on social media or in the news, you can file a complaint even if you weren't there in person. And our social media handle is at CCRB_NYC. You can also file a complaint by visiting us at our office at 100 Church Street on the 10th floor, New York, 1007. You can also file a complaint at any police precinct, and the NYPD is required to accept CCRB complaints at any precinct, or you can also request a complaint form and postage-free envelope at any precinct. The CCRB's Youth Advisory Council applications are live. The CCRB's YAC is a group of young leaders, young New Yorkers who are committed to criminal justice issues and improving police community relations. Members advise the CCRB staff in its efforts to engage young New Yorkers, and they serve as ambassadors to their communities for the agency, and they also join in team building activities. So any young people in New York City between the ages of 10 and 18 are eligible to apply to participate in our Youth Advisory Council. The application deadline is Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. And on the right-hand side of the screen is a picture from our most recent Speak Up, Speak Out Youth Summit, was last Thursday. And young people from all across the city joined us to share their experiences and insight on policing in their communities. And they also participated in a panel discussion and fun educational activities. So if you want more information about the YAC, please email us at yac@ccrb.nyc.gov. If you'd also like to request a presentation, please reach out to us at outreach@ccrb.nyc.gov. And again, please follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and our handle is at CCRB_NYC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the board members to Ms. Rigi? Thank you.
Thanks.
Actually, I do have a question.
Good.
How many young people were in attendance?
It was over 55 attendees in person, and online we had 20. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
How did the invitation go out? How was it publicized?
So we sent out email blasts. We called organizations within our network, schools, teachers, after school programs. We reached out to them. We also did social media blasts. We did some canvassing in the neighborhood where the event took place in Harlem. And we also sent out newsletters as well about the event, as well as the Youth Advisory Council 2025 application.
And who is the liaison between the board and the Youth Advisory Council?
Me.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been involved in organizing events. That's a very good turnout.
Thank you.
Very good.
Any other questions? Thank you again for your service.
Thank you.
We will now move to the public comment portion of the meeting. We will begin with those joining us virtually who would like to make a comment, followed by those who are joining us in person. For those who are joining us virtually, please use the raise your hand feature. Please keep your comments to 4 minutes. Jahai, would you please call on the first person?
So far, there aren't any hands raised virtually.
Nobody?
Okay, someone just raised their hand. We have Emmanuel Azaroff.
Go ahead, sir. Sir, we're listening. Go ahead, sir, we're listening.
Bear with us for one moment. We may have some technical difficulties.
Okay. I'm going to give it a few moments. Well, we can come back to this.
Do you hear me?
Oh, you're here? Oh, yes, go ahead. Your name, sir?
Hello, my name is Emmanuel Ashuro, and I am a John Jay College student, John Jay Criminal Justice College student, interested in the work of the CCRB and the current state of police corruption occurring in New York. In 2018, the New York Civil Liberties Union reported a survey which showed 618 officers being implicated in sexual misconduct cases within the year. The number could have been larger if it wasn't for the uninclusivity that derives from only 1 in 3 women generally reporting sexual assault cases. This was reported by the NYCLU in 2018. As we approach 2024, with the CCRB 2024 semi-annual report showcasing the sexual misconduct-related reports, which fall under the abuse of authority, accumulated to a very minimal number of all reports received, I want to ask, what can be attributed to the lack of sexual assault reports being received by the CCRB? And furthermore, what can be done to ensure more people report police sexual misconduct to the CCRB?
Well, I'm going to ask the executive director to respond to that.
So generally speaking, sexual misconduct and sexual assault are crimes that have very low reporting rates. And so it is not shocking that the rate of reporting of that type of incident to the CCRB is low because it is generally low. That said, the CCRB investigates those allegations when we receive them and makes every effort to do so using trauma-informed interview techniques to make sure that the victims of sexual misconduct can feel comfortable coming to the agency and making those complaints. When individuals are victims of sexual misconduct, we only have those cases, we only have complaints of sexual misconduct investigated by individuals who we've sent for special training and enhanced training in trauma-informed interviewing. But one of the things, since the agency has been investigating sexual misconduct cases, we have taken the lessons we've learned in trauma-informed interview techniques and spread them throughout the agency. And so that our investigators, even if they haven't received the special training they need for sexual misconduct investigations do have the basic trauma-informed interview skills that we think are essential to conduct interviews of civilians and members of service without re-traumatizing them.
I would also like to add that we spread the word to the public about our jurisdiction covering these types of offenses so that anyone alleging or thinks that they have been a victim of such acts will come forward and file a complaint. But it is very, very new jurisdiction for us, and most of the public still view this, I believe, are still not widely aware of this jurisdiction. So we're working on that, and certainly our units are out there telling people about it. But it takes a while for the public to get acquainted with the fact that our jurisdiction has been enlarged. I thank you for your interest, and I hope that if you do any studies of this agency and our work, that you will at least share them with us, so that any recommendations that you make or any insights that you have can be put to good use. And good luck to you. Is there another speaker?
Yes. Mosoi Fang is our next speaker.
Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So hello everyone, and I'm also one of the John Jay students. So we actually currently are conducting some research and try to enhance the police transparency and also try to prompt the relationship between our NYC citizen and maybe CCRB and the NYPD. So based on our research results, we found out one of the interesting method that has to use in different states, which is the virtual inspection way that could be conducted before like really in-person inspection, especially in the traffic stop cases. This method actually, based on our research, had to use in one of the police department in Florida, and the other one is in San Francisco, as we know. So I want to, because I had read the report from the annual CCRB report that actually our government is sadly cutting budgets to from the CCRB. And also we also have a lot of complaint cases enhancing each year based on your statistics data. So what's the opinion about virtual inspection toward NYPD officer conducting within because I also read the NYPD's inspection procedure specifically in the traffic stop. We think maybe the level 1 situation, would that be possible or be beneficial for this kind of technique to involve and help the complaint cases? Because if you do this kind of video record, everything would be transparent and record at the moment as an evidence who could also enhance the efficiency of the complaint cases investigation and also protect the NYPD's officer when they conduct this kind of traffic stop complaint. Thank you.
First of all, I am just delighted that we have not one but two John Jay students that are interested in the work of the CCRB, and not just this CCRB, but CCRB and similar organizations and institutions across the country. My request is that please not only share your resulting research, but please do share the research questions that you were looking at. Even if you abandoned some of them, so that we know where your interest is. And I'm going to ask the executive director to respond a little bit directly to what you're saying, what you're asking. But I would like to say that I did not completely understand everything you were saying, so I hope he did.
So, to echo Ms. Simmons, thank you for your interest. With regard to using technology to investigate complaints of misconduct during traffic stops, the NYPD is supposed to be using their body-worn cameras when they are conducting traffic stops. And so we have access to body-worn camera footage that is recorded by members of service when they are conducting a traffic stop. It requires activation by the member of service, so it is not foolproof that we will have footage. But it does give us, when we are conducting investigations with body-worn camera footage, as well as other videos such as cell phone video or surveillance video from a nearby location, it gives the agency a much better chance of making determinations on the merits of a particular allegation rather than being unable to come to a conclusion and having to make a determination of unsubstantiation about a particular allegation. Unsubstantiation means we couldn't say whether the conduct that occurred was misconduct by a preponderance of the evidence. And a preponderance of the evidence is slightly more than 50%.
Thank you again. And we will ask you and your colleague as well to please share your research recommendations and your final reports or papers with us, and any ideas you have on improvement. Be in touch with our office so that we can put you in touch with staff that would be more than interested to speak with you. Thank you again for your interest and for your most intelligent question. Any other people online?
Yes, our next speaker is Shandell Douglas.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm also a John Jay student. So
hey, we're on a roll.
So about 3 years ago, the CCRB chief on NYPD disciplines testified at a city council public safety committee hearing. The CCRB was asking for final authority on CCRB discipline. And the outcome of that hearing was that the city council is asking the state legislature, which is where the authority now lies, for making the change. So I'm wondering if there are any updates on that situation.
It's exactly where it was before. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I'm not speaking for the entire board. I'm speaking for myself. No, it has not been changed. The jurisdiction jurisdiction to actually make final determinations on cases that come before the CCRB still lies with the police commissioner. Are you still there, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, and I urge you to keep close watch, as we all are, because as we all know, things are changing very, very swiftly in government, state, federal, and city. So let's see what happens in this year to come. But this is not the first time that request has been made to the state legislature. Our hopes always remain high, but thus far, the state legislature, in their wisdom, has not determined that is the direction they want to go. And again, I'm speaking for myself, not for the entire board. Thank you for your interest. I have a question. Who is your professor that has turned you on to the CCRB? We want to know who our advocate is at at John Jay. John Jay is a school part of the City University of New York, and I've spent most of my career working for CUNY. So I would like to just reach out to that professor and tell me appreciate, or her, and tell me appreciate their interest and turning you on to this wonderful field. So could you tell us who your professor was that encouraged you to do this work?
It's not really a specific professor. We're actually a part of a project, and we're collaborating with the Safe Stops mobile app on finding out solution and on how we can help the CCRB in improving police oversight.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. And please continue your work even after you graduate. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Can we have the next speaker, please?
The next speaker is Lottie Almonte.
Please go forward. Miss Almonte, please go forward.
I just had a question. I wanted to piggyback on.
I'm sorry, we can barely hear you.
I just wanted to ask, do you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And we see you.
Yeah, well, it said turn on your camera, so I did.
Yay.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for all the work that you do and for being here. I just wanted to piggyback on the response from the executive director to the young man who asked about the cameras. And I just wanted to understand what does that look like, the policy? Do they have to ask permission to turn on their camera, or do they just turn on their camera? What does that look like for civilians? And thank you.
So members of the NYPD have certain times when they are required to turn on their cameras and certain times when they are required not to have their cameras activated. And if ever there is a conflict between activation and not activation, they are required to activate their camera. And they don't have to ask for permission from the civilian in order to do so.
Thank you.
Welcome. Do we have any further comments or questions online?
Okay, there are no additional hands raised. That will conclude the virtual portion.
All right, it's with great pleasure that I ask anyone that is present. Thank you for coming. That has a comment or a question to please approach the podium. You have 4 minutes. Hello again.
Hello. Hello, my name is Marion Moss. I served 3 terms on Manhattan Community Board 10 as an emerging leader. After I got my master's degree in public administration, I served on the community. I now serve on the Community Action Board for Region 9, which covers East Harlem and Central Harlem, and we give federal funding to nonprofit organizations. I want to say again, I'm echoing many of the board members. Welcome to Mr. Mohammed Khalid. And I want to say again, thank you to the CCRB for standing up for domestic violence. Last month, we had a forum with Chase Bank, and First Deputy Commissioner Tania Kinsella was there, and I just greatly appreciate the focus on domestic violence in that regard. I want to also say thank you to the CCRB for hearing the youth, because they are our future. And I used to always bring I call them my 3 little Harlem girls, but my daughters with me to meetings. And my eldest daughter, who's now 14, Kalia, would always get up and ask a question. So that is giving us encouragement, and it gives us foresight on how to be proactive for young people's futures. And I think that's important. And now I want to say we're on Church Street, and this is not church, but I'm going to go to church for a few minutes because I want to think about Dr. Martin Luther King, and he's one of my favorite leaders who was always about peace. But even he said that a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I look at the CCRB as upholding justice in our communities. And in order to do that, we have to realize that all politics is local. All the decisions that you all make, That is how the ripple up happens. And although we learned just today that a commissioner was recommissioned from the sanitation department to now the commissioner of the NYPD, one thing that I must point out is that we had an amazing woman leading this body of Rice, and she could not, I mean, she was the interim chair. I know this is going to be echoed again. She was the interim chair for several months, I think even over years. And it took one day for us to get a new commissioner of the NYPD, which I thought the CCRB was consulted about that, being that there are appointees from the city council and the commissioner. So I think that that is something that we need to look at, that maybe there needs to be some dialogue between City Hall, the mayor's office, and the CCRB before appointees are made, to get some kind of feedback between the bodies. And that is of concern to me. And then the last thing I want to say that is concern to me is motherhood. Protection of motherhood in our city. I don't know what is going on, why we allow our women to be disrespected through domestic violence, through sexual assault, through our bodies that are supposed to serve and protect. And that is of concern to me when our police are extra volatile. When I've heard about the cameras, I stood up here a few months ago and explained, that I went through some police brutality, as a domestic violence victim. I've called the police and asked them to intervene on situations. No one wants to stand up and say, I've been a victim of domestic violence, but when it happens, when a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for other women. So said Maya Angelou. And this is an opportunity for us to get some things right. We have got to, and I serve on a task force, the mayor's task force, to train to train police officers for domestic violence. But the point is that I'd like to see justice in handling and how we handle these situations going forward, and making sure that, when we see young people that are watching our police, that they're upholding their standards at the highest degree that respects our country and our city.
Thank you so much for your attendance and for your comments and for following our activities. We have duly noted, as we mentioned before, in regard to special protocols and special training that's given to our investigators, and now almost across the board to all of our investigators, so that they handle trauma-related instances with the sensitivity that they need to. Of course, we could always do more, so we thank you for your recommendation. And I also, I'm just talking personally now about, when people see officers engaging in violence, whether it is justified or not, it does have a traumatic effect on people, and particularly youth. So we appreciate the sensitivity that you bring to that subject, and every member of this board is very sensitive to it, whether complaints are filed or not. We only see the ones that are filed, but we understand that it occurs every day, and that our communities need to know that policing is being done with the utmost respect for human rights and human beings. Thank you.
Madam Chair, before we go to the next speaker, Ms. Moss reminded me of something.
1 minute. I'm suffering from spring allergies in the fall, folks. So just excuse me. I'm dripping and blowing my nose. Please go ahead.
Okay. So the thing I wanted to bring up was, while Ms. Moss brought up the need for showing respect to women and mothers, today is also the Trans Day of Visibility, and it is also possible for trans folk and just men to be victims of sexual misconduct as well. And so I just, while our agency is committed to investigating allegations of sexual misconduct against women, We will also investigate allegations of sexual misconduct against men and sexual misconduct against trans folks as well.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I'm Michael Myers, president of the New York Civil Rights Coalition. I really didn't expect to be here today, except I learned that Esmeralda Simmons is going to be the temporary acting chair. And out of respect for Esmeralda Simmons, she doesn't believe this. That's the only reason that I came here today, because I would get to speak first if I were outside on those other things you got that don't work for me. The website doesn't work for me. So here I am. I want to congratulate Esmeralda Simmons personally for your leadership, for your clarity, and for your determination against all odds. So I want you to know that for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Myers.
Secondly, has anyone inquired of our mayor? He's still the mayor, right? Has anyone inquired?
We have a new president.
Inquired of Mayor Adams or the new deputy mayor, whatever her name is?
The new commissioner.
No, not the commissioner, the deputy mayor. Either the mayor or the deputy mayor, who the newest one, who gets all the press now. Has anybody inquired of them about why it's taking so long to make us permanent chair of the Civilian Complaint Review Board? Has anybody inquired? Has anybody inquired of the mayor and his people why it's taking so long? Now, we've had an interim chair for at least a year, maybe 2 years. It was great. But she was kicked out. Despite the rhetoric of the other previous meeting, she was kicked out. And she was kicked out by Mayor Eric Adams. Now, there has to be some accountability, my friends. When one of your own gets kicked out. Kicked out! And then, we have a very good mayor. We don't know what happened. But she came here out of respect and professionally speaking, she let it go. She let it go. And I give that to her. I give her credit for that. But I wouldn't have let it go. And I'm still not going to let it go. Because she's a civil rights leader. She's a decent person. She's a professional. And she's one of yours. You people sit around here, but it looks quiet. I haven't seen any letters going to the mayor yet, protesting how one of your own was kicked out. So I always say, you're next. When there's silence, when there's no concern, when there's no dissent, you're next. So welcome, Mr. Dr. Muhammad, back. You're next. You're next. So no letter I assume, has been sent from the CCRB board to the mayor and or deputy mayor about getting a chair of this commission. Moving on, because I know my time is limited. The website. That worked for them. It doesn't work for me. And I don't know if it's my technology or my equipment, but it doesn't work for me. So I come here to make sure we're heard, because I think a voice of civil rights has to be heard directly at these meetings. So I hope that we had some report from the executive director about the status of the website. I thought we were going to maybe get a new vendor. I hope so, because this other vendor, I don't have any interest or stock in it. It ain't working for me, and it doesn't work on my end. Also, I asked the executive director 2 months ago, I'm not going to bring it up for a report. I'm not going to bring it up. Next month, I'm going to bring it up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think we're entitled to that report, because I wanted to make my presentation on that report today. But I can't give a presentation on it because I don't have the report. Now, the temporary transitional, whatever he is, police commissioner. Have we asked, we, meaning you, have you asked for a meeting with the police commissioner? You know, there was a time the police commissioners met with the board, the CCRB board. There was a time the CCRB board wanted to meet with the police commissioner because you have something to tell him, especially when they write, not this guy because he's brand new, when they write and dissent from what you have recommended. There you go. I don't agree. Yeah. What kind of nonsense is this coming from a professional, coming from the police commissioner of New York City? And he only does that in disrespecting you because the mayor disrespects you.
Mr. Myers, there were reports earlier today that the mayor announced a new police commissioner.
Another one?
Yes. So,
Okay.
so
who's that?
It's going to be the current commissioner of the Department of Sanitation, Jessica Tisch.
Jessica Tisch?
Yes.
Oh, Lord. I'm not going to say never mind, but it's my comments are for the record. I mean, this mayor is so ridiculous. I mean, really ridiculous. So we now have another police. I hope you're going to ask for a meeting with the brand new police commissioner, Jessica Tisch. Is she related to the Tisches? That Tisch?
We don't know. Which Tisch?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, she is?
I'm sure she is.
He just answered.
Yeah, I'm sure. I knew that already. Now, in terms of the feedback from the youth forum, how many
So please
feedback?
watch your time because you're over.
Yeah, I know. And I'm glad that we had a forum for the youth. But I'm telling you, 55 people from Harlem ain't a lot of people. But I do want to know if it's online or if there's some feedback from the session from the young people, because I would love to read it. I would love to hear it. I would love to see it online. And so in the old days, we used to get 200 people to a CCRB meeting, not meeting, but public meeting session. Because a lot of people have problems. They have a lot of complaints. And it's not that they don't have complaints anymore. They do have complaints. But some people just don't have the patience. And we are running out of patience.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers or comments? Welcome.
Good afternoon, board. I'd like to start with something.
Name, please.
My name is Vera.
Spell that. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Vera. Vera, V-E-R-A.
V-E-R-A. Vera. What's the last name?
K-H-R-A-M-O-V-A.
H-R-A. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to start with something that I didn't anticipate. I felt very unwelcome arriving at the meeting today by the woman in blue. I was nervous standing next to my seat. She could have politely told me to sit down and explain the rules that apparently you're not allowed to stand up here in this area. Instead, she was very rude to me. And then she called in this man and behind my back proceeded to tell him, get this woman to sit down, even though I was just pacing next to my seat because I was nervous and because the room was practically empty. I wasn't in anyone's way.
Before the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if this woman in blue and this man who started telling me that I'm a troublemaker, that he's going to escort me out, well, you shouldn't have been rude to begin with. You know, or if you say have such strict rules, put a note outside saying no standing allowed. You should be perfect to work for police with such attitude. I'm sorry about this. This is not the attitude I hoped for. It's just I was made to feel this way coming in here. I'd like to start with this civilian assistance unit. This is a brochure I just picked up in that area outside. This is apparently it offers social services, mental health services, and potentially legal service. This is the first time I'm hearing about this. So why did my investigator notify me of this? Why are people, I mean, this is completely by chance that I found out about that you have a special unit. Maybe you should do a better job of if someone already has a case with you, an investigation that is started, then perhaps
it is the job of the investigator to notify, hey, by the way, we have this, based on the details of your case, this is something that you could benefit from. Otherwise, how are people supposed to find out about it? Another point that I've noticed in interactions with my investigator, at least, that it takes a very long time for me to hear back from her. I don't know if she's still my investigator or not, but for example, just the latest interaction I had with her over email, it took for me to send a second email to her to ask, can I please get a simple acknowledgement that you at least received my letter? And finally, after almost a week, she responds with no apology, no explanation, just saying, okay, yes, I received your, this will be noted. So I don't think it should take a client of CCRB to follow up, you know, and possibly a week to get a simple reply. This wasn't about anything that required an extensive amount of work on her part. It was just for her to say, okay, noted. Well, I don't think I have the time to cover the other things I hope to cover due to this situation that completely unbalanced me. But maybe to reply to what Ms. Moss mentioned, CCRB's involvement with DV. If Ms. Moss have seen that in her experience, that's great. But my case has to do with DV. And for example, I have not seen any interest or any questions or any help or any guidance from CCRB in that regard. So I'm not sure how involved CCRB are with DV. I don't know if you have a special person maybe who can help victims of DV or a special department, but maybe that is something that you could look into. And because DV complicates things a little bit when you're dealing with police.
Any response?
So Ms. Simmons, I will look into the communication lag between Ms. Vera and her investigator, as well as why she was not informed of the civilian assistance unit, and I'll report back to the board at the next executive session.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for raising your issues.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Darsh, trying to reach Wiley, I can't reach.
Can you please give us your name?
Miss Jennings. It's a stalking issue, but you know about it. You have designees from the mayor's office and from the police commissioner, Dwyer. Fox, is it? Fox? That I reached out to many, many years ago, because it's a stalking issue that started in 2006, but you know about that. And Miss Charlene, I tried to reach you at the school. Are you still at the school? Yeah, many calls, but I don't know where the calls go. Over the summer, no idea where the calls go. And it's extremely urgent. And then there was also a I can't think of his name. He's with a known law firm. And Miss Simmons, I tried to reach you 10, 15 years ago at your law school for some advice about this that started 16 years ago. What I don't understand is that you don't handle stalking here. I understand that. But I reached out to people here, especially Mr. Fox, when he was transit police. I reached out years ago. I reached out to many. Her name was, what's her name? She was running for mayor. De Blasio.
Maya Wiley.
I beg your pardon, what's her name?
Former Commissioner Maya Wiley.
I reached out to all these wonderful people. I don't get anything. Okay, let me enlighten you and I'll make it quick. February, I reached out to Mr. Darsh because I thought I was having a stroke. No, it was a sonic attack from the person over me. I had a pain across here. I couldn't move for 1 hour. 1 hour, couldn't move. The mayor, the governor, most of all, the White House got emails, and it's in everybody's letter they get about that. February the 5th. I went to the emergency room thinking I was having a stroke. June the 25th, I had a heart attack. Precursor, what do you call it? From the man over me doing something with sonic weaponry or something he's got going up there. Because now I stay nauseous and dizzy. By 4 o'clock, I'm sick. But I reached out to everybody who's anyone, and I said just what I'm saying now to all in the emails. But see, I wouldn't have had the second heart attack if you would have dealt with this drama of now 2006. What's this, 18 years? Yeah, if you would have dealt with the drama, it would have been ended, but I don't know. And I'm going to enlighten you before I leave. 3 presidents got letters from Miss Jennings. Every camera I've ever passed seen those letters. Mr. Dosh knows about it. The CEO's names on the top of the letters. And as of Trump coming in, it's going to be taken to the stock value on the top of those letters to the White House. I don't understand any of this. Because, see, you come from the police department and you come from the mayor. So you must know what's what. If I've come here for years and reached out for help, you don't handle stalking. You don't. But her name is Lisa Lee, and she's the customer service at MTA. She just got a call from me at booth 310, 149. Well, I'm lying, and we know I don't lie. The amount of people that went through that don't pay, that want my black. I don't know why. Oh, gets better. From 11 o'clock to 3 a.m., the staff in the emergency room at North Central marched, and no one helped me. No one helped me as I was having a heart attack. It went to 216 over and went on that. Honorable Darsh knows about it because I'm sure I brought that to his attention. I don't understand any of this. You don't handle stalking, but you've heard from me way before COVID. You've heard from me. And nobody's reaching out to the mayor, the different police commissioners. The lady says she's sending letters to the White House, 3,000 plus. That's not looking good for New York. It's looking real bad. I was chased in here. I go out once a week. You all know every move I make because you're just texting all day long. You know every move. You know that. You know it's drug related. My black doesn't do drugs. And the person over me is now trying to kill me. So I'm very concerned about this. Now, you'll figure what you could do. I wanted to speak to you again, but I couldn't get to reach to you. I left messages. If you could find time, we could have a little talk again. If you can, greatly appreciate it. I can't reach Wiley. Anybody here know a Kathleen Powell? Fordham University, anybody? Because I had reached out to her in the beginning of the year when she was at the White House, and I can't seem to reach her. Anybody? Yeah, y'all are professors were professors, right? Yeah. Miss Jennings, very urgent. So greatly need some help if somebody could figure out what to do. I have no idea. I don't know what to do. I feel for my life and safety, I don't go out anymore. Because I don't know who's near me. And I see hands coming at me. It's very scary. You notice me sit there now and not make a move. Just watch, because that's what I do. Done it now for 20 years. I don't understand this. Let me enlighten you. This is about drugs originally. Huge cartel.
Ma'am, I appreciate that you have a very urgent
See what y'all could
message.
do for me.
Thank you so much. Are there any other persons present that'd like to make comments or ask a question? Okay. All right, seeing none. We'll turn to old business. Do we have any old business to come before the board? I'm asking board members. Hearing none, okay, we'll move to new business. Do you have, yes, do you have any new business to come before the board?
Can I please ask the executive director if we can, there's a program, mediation, where sometimes when complaints come in, complainants are given an option of mediating with the officer, and maybe we can get an overview of that. We've discussed that a little bit here and there.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Fox. I think certainly by January, if not at the December meeting, I'll invite the director of the mediation unit to come and make a presentation. And we'll probably do it instead of either in addition to or instead of the outreach report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if everybody doesn't understand what that's about, we actually allow cases to go into mediation. And complainants are offered the opportunity generally to go to mediation, and that's a quicker process than full investigation. They don't have to, they can decline. And we're asking about what's happening with that unit. Okay. Any other new business? Mr. Merritt, any new business? Yes, sir.
I know when I was back on CCRB, and at that time, we had discussion and I proposed that every borough, we should have the monthly meeting in every borough. There will be a good outreach for the borough's people. And, but I don't know if that has been happening. That was when I was on CCRB. So if that's a good thing to go for outreach, maybe the board can have monthly meeting in a different borough each time and get more people to know what CCRB is all about.
Well, your wonderful suggestion was actually in effect until last year. We were going from one borough to the next, including Staten Island, for our monthly meetings, and we had to cease and desist due to budget expenses. It costs a lot more money to go to the boroughs, and we have not been able to pick it up as yet. We're in a new budget year now, but we're still very tight. But it has been an excellent manner to get outreach, and we get a lot of people that come out from the boroughs when we go to the boroughs themselves, come to the meetings, and sometimes we're there till 10, 11 o'clock at night listening to folks, and that's great. That's great. That's what we're here for. So yes, it's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful practice. I will ask you to take it up with the executive director in terms of, how the budget looks now, about whether we can get this done. I know the outreach team loved it and was encouraging it, and it was very, very good for community members. And I say we would have twice as many people that are in this room when we went, at least when we went to borough meetings. And I think the biggest one was Queens, right?
I don't know there were a bunch of, and especially in Brooklyn, we had a bunch of folks came out, and Staten Island had big meetings too.
Yes, Staten Island was huge. Huge. So thank you for making that recommendation again. And it's not like we don't want to do it. We want to do it. I hope we can afford to do it.
So the borough meetings take a lot of planning and effort in addition to being expensive. So right now, we are definitely not going to do them for the first half of 2025, but we are looking for the second half of 2025, resuming the program.
Sure.
Okay. Any other new business? Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to move that we break into executive session. The agenda for the executive session, the board will consider 3 full board cases. The executive director will discuss pending personnel actions, and the general counsel will provide updates regarding pending litigation. Is there a motion to adjourn to executive session? Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Those in favor? Aye. Aye. We move to executive session. Thank you all. See you next month.
You.